This is the Zach Ansbury Show.
Welcome. On today's podcast clip, we have the head of marketing of the Collingwood Football Club, Karina Whiteford.
Yeah.
So how did you find yourself in that role?
You want the long version or the short version?
Definitely the long version.
I think so. I was working in football at Sandford, so at the league level, so obviously South Australian State League. Working there and really enjoying the sport aspect of that. Have always, well, not always, but knew that I was meant to work in sport. And so was really enjoying it, really loving it. Was probably just ready for another challenge. And I knew when I decided that I wanted to work in sport, and that's where I wanted to flex my marketing muscle, that I would eventually have to consider moving to Melbourne. And so the time felt right. I said to myself, okay, I think I'm ready for a new challenge. If something pops up at the AFL or at an AFL club in Melbourne in the next week, I'm going to apply for it. And the next week, the role at Collingwood came up in my job search, and that seemed pretty universal in terms of symbols. So definitely just took that, and it all sort of worked out in my favour. So
Isn't it crazy? You're literally like in the next week if something pops up, the universe sends a message to you.
And I acknowledged that it wouldn't be a quick turnaround and that the role might not be right, and you just don't know what it's like in Melbourne, especially being like a sports central state. But I just had acknowledged that I'm always craving to learn more and for new challenges, and I just accepted that I was ready for that. And the whole universal, put it out what you want and it will come to you sort of really worked quite effectively at that point. So within the next week it popped up and then I'm here.
Okay, so sport is more your passion? Mm-hmm. So how'd you find yourself in marketing then?
To be honest, I don't actually know.
Yeah.
In high school, I knew that I was very driven and motivated, and I knew I wanted to be successful.
That doesn't come across at all.
I hope you're being sarcastic. I'm terrible at picking that up. So I knew I wanted to be successful. I had all this ambition around what kind of life I wanted to lead, that I knew I wanted to be responsible for a lot of big projects. Where and how I did that sort of was not clear on. And originally I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, which looking back on, I think was a terrible decision. And then, sort of spoke to the career counsellor at school and sort of said, this is what I'm thinking. I like being creative and don't love science, which you're going to probably grill me on later. And then they sort of said, well, have you considered marketing? And here's some courses at UniSA that might suit you. And then my scores came in, I got in and loved it.
Oh, awesome.
So it was kind of a bit of luck.
So were you doing like accounting or business studies or any of those sorts of...
I was doing all of the things that now looking back on are vital to what I do now. I was doing business studies, English studies, economics, biology, so not that one that wasn't really entirely relevant. And there was certainly another one that I cannot remember for the life of me. But I was doing a lot of the business core subjects. And English I loved, and I still love it now. Copywriting is one of my favourite things to do. So.
Really? Oh, that's some stuff you can copyright.
I'd love to do it.
So, okay, I think, because in a similar regard, right? So in year 11 and year 12, I realised I didn't want to do like the traditional sciences, like the physics, the chemistry, the biology. I like to do things that I'm good at, and I'm not good at those things. So I very quickly realised after year 10 and getting a C for some of those things, I'm like, I think I'll play to my strengths. I love science, but I don't like those sciences. So I like the scientific discipline itself and the way it looks at the world.
It's funny you say that, because I remember actually prior to the career counselling session, I went and saw just one of the school counsellors because I got a B in physics. And I thought that was the end of my schooling career. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. That was probably year 10 or 11, so it wasn't at the year 12 sort of standard. But I remember just thinking the end of the world because I was not good at something, and that was probably the first time that I had to try hard. So that was a good life lesson.
Okay, high achiever, makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Yeah, and I just felt like, and you probably felt the same way, that it really helped with an undergraduate business degree, right? Because you have to do all of those subjects, and sort of, the first 2 or 3 weeks came relatively easy because you already knew those base, deficits and credits and debits and credits and all that sort of stuff.
Hey guys, it's Zach Ainsbury here with just a couple of quick reminders. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, then make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. There are plenty more interviews to come with some of the world's leading marketing academics and practitioners. You do not want to miss these. In the meantime, if you're looking for another way to connect, then follow me on Twitter at Zach Ainsbury. That is ZACANESBURY for my take on the marketing issues of the day.